We have a long sail ahead of us. Somewhere out there, America awaits. No one knows how long it will take, or what it's going to be like once we get there. So many questions are running through my mind. Will the ship hold? Will I ever see my parents again? And what is America really like? Do they even have sheep there? There is no turning back now. We need to leave everything behind us, because somewhere out there, on the other side, far, far away, awaits a whole new beginning.
Welcome on board the Restauration, a proud monument of Norwegian emigration. My name is Halvor Håvardstein. I will do my best as a storyteller today, and I will tell you a short version in English, because we are streaming this live for our friends in America. So hopefully the Slooper Society of America will understand my Tasta English, as we say in Norway, and you know, streaming this live is not exactly what they did in 1825. So if you look at the ship where we are now and streaming this live, it's quite, you know, it's very different. We are about to see a new movie, The Emigrant, based on the books by Wilhelm Moberg, and the story in Sweden and the travel with the ship is more or less, you can see parallel to what happened with this ship in Norway. 20 years later, 52 people left Stavanger. A child was born on the way. There's a parallel to the movie and to our history here in Stavanger. So it's these two stories are more or less the same. I guess that's one of the reasons why we were invited up to Haugesund to tell the story, and why we are here now, because with this ship we have a floating monument for what happened in 1825. It's 200 years ago, and what we see in Europe today, it's more or less the same. So monument for the story. And it's important to remember that Norway has not always been the richest country in the world. It's not a long time ago. It's 3 generations. It's not like, woo. A group of people left the old world behind and set sail for new horizons and crossed the Atlantic in a small boat. 52 people. A child was born. That's very, very. It's unbelievable. The whole thing is unbelievable. And I think, Erik Bye, a famous Norwegian artist, Erik Bye, he wrote a book called Silver Wind about the Norwegian emigration, and he was invited to New York for the 150 years anniversary, and he was there together with the King Olav, you know, His Majesty King Olav, and the Kringkastingsorkestra from Norway. And he held a speech, Erik Bye held a speech in Carnegie Hall, 29 minutes without the manuscript, not like me, I have to read sometimes, but he held a fantastic speech. You can Google it, you can actually look at it. We have a link on our website. And he said, it's nothing to celebrate. Like a lot of Americans like to see it as a celebration, as a 200 years celebration. But I would like to quote him, because he actually say, why celebrate the fact that 40% of the Norwegian population found the life so unbearable that they left for never to go back? Det liksom sier alt da. And Norway had for many years been under the Danish king. This was in 1825. The Napoleon War was from 1807 to 1814. So it was 11 years later that this happened. So the people who traveled, like that, they were it was freedom of religion. That was the main reason for the people who left with this boat. And there was cheap farmland and new opportunities and all these things. But during this, after the Napoleon War, a lot of Norwegians were captured by the Brits and sent to prison ships in England. And that's where the Lars Larsen Gjeilane, who was one of the founders of the Quakers Foundation in Stavanger, met the Quakers and actually became a Quaker. And when he came back to Norway, they were struggling with the state church and didn't have the best times. So there were 6 families collecting money, buying this boat to travel across the Atlantic. And the boat was not built for traveling overseas. It was a fishing boat used for herring and cargo in Norway up and down the coast. It was a coast cargo ship. But they found this ship which was rebuilt from a yacht to a sloop with it was extended, larger. They put a different rig on the boat to improve the downwind sailing skills. It would be faster to sail downwind because they were looking for the trade winds to go across the Atlantic. And Stavanger was not a big city at this time. There was 20,000 citizens. There was 20,000 people living in Stavanger. This was a big event. When 52 people decided to leave, everybody knew somebody on board. So there was lots of people on the pier, everywhere in Stavanger, screaming, shouting, blessing, singing when they left. So it was not just like 52 people left. It was a big thing in Norway. It was the biggest group that ever left Norway. It has become the nickname for the Norwegian Mayflower after the more famous ship from England, the ship that carried pilgrims from England to Plymouth. That was this ship is a lot smaller, but it was 2.5 times as crowded as the Mayflower. It's unbelievable how many people actually stayed on the boat for this time. The crossing to America took the whole sail together was 98 days. They sailed from Stavanger to south of England to Cornwall. It took about 7 days. So they stopped there for food and water. And some people on board started trading liquor like moonshine on the market at the square. That was not legal according to English law. So rumors was they were going to be arrested. So the captain decided to leave. Before they got arrested. So they didn't have enough water, they didn't have enough food for the long leg down south to Madeira. And sailing south then, at the end, they were drifting towards Funchal. 52 people at that time, with no water, going south, hot, and no wind. So as they was drifting towards Madeira, and this is a fact, it's just not something that we made up. They found a barrel of Madeira wine in the sea, and they managed to get that on board, and drank most of it. And the crew was, of course, they were thirsty, so I guess they get drunk. They fell asleep. They were drifting into Funchal with no flag hoisted. There was no sign of anyone on board. You were supposed, this was after the war, so you have to raise a flag that you didn't have any diseases or on board. So the cannons was raised against them, ready to fire, and there was a German skipper on a boat from Bremen. He managed to get contact with the people on board. So you need to raise the flag. You need to tell him who you are before something happened, and they did. Luckily, because of if not, they would have just gunned them down and sank the ship. But two guys from the custom came on board, found everything to be in good order, and they were invited to the American consul, and he provided them with lots of fresh fruits and had a big garden party for the whole crew, and they actually fired a salute from the same fort when they left across for the long leg. And then they were sailing south against the Canarian Island to try to catch the trade winds, because it's a downwind sailor. You can't sail upwind with this boat. You need to sail downwind because of the shape of the hull and everything. But okay, so they sailed like a big circle 40 days, and 4 days before Bahamas, they had this child born, Margaret Allen. They named her after one of the Quakers in England, and yeah, we actually have a dinghy with the same name now, so that's something. And then they I guess we don't know exactly where they stranded in Florida or up north, but they sailed from Bahamas. They didn't go ashore in Bahamas. They sailed to Florida and then up north to New York, where they arrived at the 9th of October with everybody in good health, and yeah, not like the sad story from Sweden where people, well, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but that was a different story. Everybody arrived in safe. And it was a big event in New York. A lot of Norwegian sailors crossing the Atlantic, so many people. But actually too many people for that small boat. So they were arrested. Or the boat was arrested, the captain was arrested, and they were told that they had to pay a fine to get it off, because it was not according to American law. And the president said that he actually said, he stopped the whole thing and said, how can you're risking your life sailing from Norway to America, to a country which you don't know anything about, and how can you know the laws? How can we arrest somebody coming to this country for something they don't know anything about? So they were all free of charge for that, and for that bad start in America. Yeah. So more or less the story about the sail, why they left, and how they did it. That's the important thing for me to tell now. When they arrived, that's a different story. That so many things happens. It's like there's like 2 more books, like the 3 books. You can't tell that story. I wanted to tell you the story in the boat. Imagine 53 people on board here, sailing to America in 1820, to a country that you don't know anything about. That is something special. And there's a couple of people on board I would like to mention. Some that I've mentioned before was Lars Larsen Jælane. He was in prison for 7 years after the Napoleon War, when he was captured by the Brits, and he was more or less the foundation. He was the character. He was the guy who was leading the group. Together with, they sent Cleng Persson to America, supposed to 1 year, but he spent 3 years up front. So the Quakers in Stavanger sent Cleng Persson to America to find out, is this something we can do? Is there something for us? Is there land to buy? Is there something better for us? And he came back, told the story, and they left. They bought the boat. There was a couple of families. There was lots of family. We have more or less all the names for the crew. There was a family, Madland family, that traveled. There was like 5 sisters and a brother. I think the older sister, she was left in Stavanger. She was like 28, but the 4 younger sister and the brother left. The first day sailing, when they arrived, when they came out to Tungeneset in heavy swell, big waves, and upwind, people were seasick already. First day downstairs, nobody upstairs, everybody here. Big waves. You are at Tungeneset. You have been sailing for 6 hours. and you're going to America. So Jens, this was Jens Madland. He decided he didn't want this. So him and his father and the family and the captain start discussing. He said, I don't want to go. So they stopped. They went back to Dusavik. He went off the boat together with his 2 younger sisters. His father was a blacksmith just at Holmen in Stavanger, 2 minutes walk from here. So he decided, I'm going to go back to my father's and become a blacksmith, just as my father. And the 2 older sisters said, we're going with you. So 3 of the siblings left in Dusavik, the 2 youngest left, and they never met again. And there was another story about Sven, and this was Madland. And I think, as a joke, Madland, maybe not the best name to bring to America. Madland. Anyway, Sven Steine, another family. His mother was from Finnøy. He was 16 years old and he didn't want to go. 4 days before departure, he disappeared. There's different stories here. Some people say that he took a rowboat, went to Finnøy, and his grandfather was hiding him. His father and one of the crew from the Restauration went to Finnøy looking for him. They found the boat hidden in some bushes. His grandfather said, I haven't seen him. And they didn't find him, so the family left. Sven stayed, and they never saw him again. They never met again. And actually, Restauration now was in the fjord, anchored. There's a guy coming in a rowboat out. They say, hey, I'm Sven's relative. I'm so lucky he stayed, otherwise I wouldn't have been born. So, life is strange sometimes, huh? So there is, as you read, there's so many stories, so many things to look at. This is just a sail. This is just, now we are going to look at this amazing movie, and I'm so lucky. I've already seen it, and you're the best. So I would just say, thank you for listening, and this is a handmade copper plate from the 100 years anniversary, which a family from Finnøy has been given to us. And at the same time, at the 100 years anniversary, there was a monument raised in the Bjerksted Park. And now, in 3 years from now, it's 200 years anniversary. So something must happen. And we have decided, there's a news we want to tell everybody tonight, live, and to our American friends. 3 years from now, we are sailing to New York. Again, with the Restoration. And it's just not because we want to do this, it's more or less to honor the people who left 200 years ago and to mark their history. And there's a point in, you see what's happening in Europe today. So that's what we have decided, and that's something we look forward to. We are going to New York. So, okay, thank you very much. And have a nice evening and enjoy the movie. It's good. Thank you. Okay. Da kan vi snakke norsk, ja? Ja, gikk det greit?
Familien Madland, når vi kom til